In a future ravaged by plague, brutal biker mutants battle cyborg enforcers for control of a city, fueled by a dangerous biodrug. In the 28th century, soldier Mitch Hunter takes charge of leading a battle against an army of subterranean mutants. At the end of the Ice Age, 10,000 years ago, a machine from outer space arrived at Earth to transform humans into mutants. A warrior named Nietzsche brought all the ancient tribes together to seal the machine deep underground. Later, Nietzsche's descendants established an order in Eastern Europe to preserve knowledge of the machine in myths and the sacred book of the Chronicles. However, by the year 2707, most people had forgotten about the machine, and the planet's natural resources had run out. The world is now dominated by 4 corporations that are constantly at odds with one another in order to gain control of the few remaining resources. In Europe, the Bauhaus Corporation prepares for another battle with the Capital Corporation, unaware that they are fighting in the area where the machine was buried. Steiner, the commander of Bauhaus, orders his men to continue bombarding the enemy with artillery, while Nathan, the commander of Capital, encourages his team to be brave and never give up. However, the mood on the Capital side is extremely negative, because they have already lost a large number of soldiers, and their chances are slim. Sergeant Mitch collects the dog tags of each fallen soldier, determined to honor their memory. At that point, Bauhaus sends out tanks, prompting Capital to respond with a large cannon. Another fight breaks out, and the resulting explosions reveal the location where the machine is buried and even crack the hatch, but no one notices. Bauhaus responds with grenades and poison gas, which quickly spread throughout the Capital trenches, poisoning all soldiers who do not put on their masks quickly enough. The Bauhaus soldiers soon break into the Capital trenches and kill every soldier they see. Mitch is also nearly killed, but Nathan saves him by shooting the attacker at the last second. They refuse to give up and immediately begin fighting back. Another massive explosion occurs, and the roof of the cave containing the machine finally begins to crack and collapse. A strange creature crawls out of the resulting hole and rushes to the nearest soldier to finish him off. Soon, more mutants emerge from the hole and attack the Capital trenches, killing the majority of the soldiers in seconds. When the Bauhaus arrive in that area, they are surprised to see the massacred bodies, and the mutants take advantage of the distraction to attack them as well. Meanwhile, Nathan and Mitch are sneaking around to survive. They don't see the mutants, so when they find their comrades' bodies, they believe Bauhaus did it. Nathan eventually runs into Steiner, and they blame each other for the current situation, which leads to a knife fight. They barely have time to move before they are surrounded by soldiers from both sides. Mutants continue to emerge from the hole, wielding sword-like hands to kill every soldier in their path. Finally, taking notice of the monsters, Nathan and Steiner agree to collaborate, and both armies open fire on the creatures. In the struggle, Jesus sustains serious injuries. Fortunately, an evacuation plane arrives soon, so Nathan grabs a machine gun and flees to distract the mutants, while the survivors escape safely. Mitch successfully transports Jesus to the plane, and watches in horror as Nathan runs out of ammunition, and is surrounded by monsters. The Order of Nietzsche eventually learns of the mutants' release. Brother Samuel, the leader, and Severine, a silent nun, visit the monastery's secret room to read the Chronicles of Mutants in the hopes of learning how to destroy the machine. According to the book, mutants transport injured people to the machine, where they are transformed into monsters that no army in the world can defeat, due to their overwhelming strength. However, the book also states that a chosen one will be able to destroy the machine. Then Samuel arranges a meeting with the leaders of the 4 corporations to discuss the situation. The mutants have taken over many of the major cities, so they propose evacuating humanity to Mars, but Samuel points out that there aren't enough spaceships for everyone. He's also confident that the mutants are intelligent enough to follow them. Samuel believes that sending a team to the cave and destroying the machine is a better plan, but the corporation's leaders continue to disagree and are unable to reach an agreement. Under the unstoppable mutant attack, life in cities deteriorates by the day, and evacuation is imminent. Unfortunately, as Samuel predicted, it is impossible to care for everyone. The monsters kill any soldiers who attempt to protect the streets, and families are divided if there aren't enough evacuation tickets for everyone. Sometimes the explosions intended to kill the monsters also bring down the evacuation ships, killing every civilian inside as well as the monsters they collide with. In private, one of the leaders informs Samuel that he is unable to fly to Mars due to poor health, but he is still determined to help. He gives Samuel his ship and evacuation tickets to entice volunteers for the mission by promising that their relatives will be able to escape. After Samuel leaves with the paperwork, the mutants surround and quickly kill the leader. Meanwhile, Mitch goes to see Nathan's family and informs them of the bad news. Nathan's wife has a breakdown because she doesn't know how to protect her daughter, because they weren't selected for evacuation. Mitch comforts her to the best of his ability, but he feels helpless. Mitch goes to a bar in the evening, and drunkenly dips his teammates' dog tags in whiskey. Samuel approaches Mitch at this point and invites him to join the mission. Mitch initially refuses, but after Samuel offers him the tickets, he reconsiders. The next day, Nathan's wife is preparing poison as she considers killing herself and her daughter in order to avoid becoming victims of the mutants. However, Mitch arrives just in time and hands her the tickets, so they can flee. Later, Samuel gathers a small group of fierce warriors, who have agreed to join the mission to discuss the strategy. They'll have to travel through a series of underground tunnels, to plant a special bomb in the center, which must be activated with a key that should be in the machine, but they're not sure. Samuel believes the Chosen One is on the team and will address the issue when the time comes. Then Steiner leads the group to a cell where the military has imprisoned a mutant to teach them how to kill it. Severine shows off her impressive mutant killing abilities while Steiner compiles a list. A phosphorus bomb, gunfire, or a sword aimed in the right direction will suffice. As the mutant dies during the demonstration, Mitch believes he saw the creature turn human just before it died. The team then gathers weapons and supplies and prepares to leave. They were given a set of sacred swords prior to boarding the plane. The airship shakes violently but safely takes off. During the flight, the team tells stories about the loved ones to whom the tickets were given. They suddenly notice a civilian ship approaching them and attempt to contact them to request that they change course, but there is no response. The civilian aircraft has been hijacked by mutants, so Samuel's group opens fire on them. After a few failed shots, they lose sight of the enemy ship in the clouds, only to have their own vehicle hit by a massive explosion. The aircraft catches fire, forcing the team to rush to the escape pod, which is stuck and refuses to detach. The pilot is severely injured and, with his last breath, pulls the manual lever, allowing the escape pod to finally release. The parachute is deployed to aid in the landing, but the capsule is too heavy, and the parachute soon breaks. The capsule begins to fall at a dangerous rate, and the team debates when to activate the backup, only for the capsule to collide with a building. After passing through, the team deploys the spare parachute, and the capsule lands in a large field. Everyone is fine, except for the captain, who has been stabbed by a large piece of shrapnel and cannot be saved. Mitch hands him a grenade, and the group walks away, only to hear the explosion that kills the captain. Moments later, the team finds itself crossing a city populated by mutants, so they move as carefully as possible. However, Mitch notices that the evacuation here isn't going well, because two soldiers are demanding exorbitant sums of money to let people board and punishing those who complain. Furious, Mitch pushes his way through the crowd to confront the soldiers, and when they refuse to cooperate, he kills one of them. The other soldier is terrified and allows any civilian to enter for free. Mitch then rejoins the team, only to be chastised by Steiner for jeopardizing the mission. The group continues on, following the book's map, until they arrive at an abandoned church in the evening. According to the chronicles, there are secret tunnels beneath that can lead them to the machine. They enter the church by lowering themselves through the roof with a rope, and are creeped out by the religious statues, not to mention the thousands of bones in every corner. They follow the chronicles through the catacombs, eventually arriving at the lost city of the ancients. According to the book, the elevator shaft will transport them to the tunnels, which means they will have to rappel 60 stories down. Kim Woo first establishes a foothold at the top to provide cover from the lift cabin, after which the team secures the rope and begins its descent. They move carefully and arrive at the distance specified in the book. However, they see no entrance. Samuel decides to consult the chronicles, but becomes so distracted that he slips and falls. Mitch tries to grab him, but the chain snaps, and Samuel falls. Fortunately, it isn't a long fall, and Samuel is fine, but there are a slew of mutants waiting for them. Mitch jumps down to protect Samuel from bullets and flames, closing the lift door to buy some time. Steiner hears the noise and throws a grenade, which Severine catches just in time and throws into the hole below, saving Samuel from harm. The noise draws more mutants out, and when the rest of the group joins Samuel, a vicious fight ensues. They fight as many mutants as they can, but they're clearly outmatched, so the team flees to the next room. The mutants immediately chase them down and corner them. At the top, Kim Woo fires his machine gun furiously, killing as many mutants as he can before running out of ammunition. The mutants then climb into the lift to attack him, so Kim Woo shoots some fire and cuts the rope, causing the cabin to fall. Kim starts fighting with his sword, but then switches to his gun until he gets the mutant's knife arm, and kills it with its own limb. The team is ready to fight their way down with their swords at the bottom, but the cabin crashes on top of the horde just then. Another explosion occurs, but not all the mutants have been killed. The team prepares to continue fighting until Kim's hand emerges from the rubble, and activates a grenade, killing all the remaining mutants as well as Kim. After paying their respects to Kim, the team continues on their way. Samuel checks the chronicles again, which irritates Mitch because he doesn't understand what is so special about a book. Samuel tells him to have faith and pours water on the ground, which falls down 2 small holes and eventually reveals the tunnel's entrance. The group quickly crosses it to another room, where they carefully walk along the edge of the wall, keeping an eye on the monsters beneath them. The mutants are dragging injured people to the machine, and Mitch is surprised to see Nathan among the casualties. Steiner predicts that Mitch will want to save him and orders him to stay, but Mitch leaves anyway. Then Steiner considers shooting him to stop him, but he can't bring himself to do it and instead keeps on moving with the others. Mitch climbs down and sneaks around to shoot a stalactite, which kills the mutant that is dragging a very weak and bleeding Nathan. Then the friends finally reunite, and Mitch carries Nathan to safety. Nathan asks about his family, so Mitch tells him they're on Mars. Now that he knows his wife and daughter are fine, Nathan can die in peace, so he tells Mitch to leave him and finish the mission. Mitch finally accepts that his friend is in deep pain and decides to put him out of his misery. Meanwhile, the rest of the team arrives at a narrow bridge, which they must cross as quietly as possible to avoid alerting the mutants below. Suddenly, a pebble falls, and when everyone turns around to look, Steiner slips and falls, barely hanging on at the last second. His yelling alerts the mutants to their presence. Steiner is the one carrying the bomb, so Severian carefully hangs on the edge to take it from him before Steiner falls to the bottom and is attacked by mutants. As Steiner opens fire and tries to defend himself, Samuel believes they should abandon him and continue with the mission, but the others refuse and rush in to help him. A vicious battle ensues as the team fights the monsters with all their might, but there are simply too many mutants, and it is impossible to defeat such a large army. Every member of the team is seriously injured, and Samuel is tragically killed. One of them was also completely destroyed by an explosion. The mutants then drag all the bodies to the machine. Mitch arrives moments later and is devastated to discover Jesus' dog tag. Suddenly, he is attacked by a mutant, which he quickly eliminates thanks to Severian's warning. The nun had managed to hide, and her warning was the first time she had spoken in years. After she tells Mitch what happened, he picks up any pieces of the book he can find and asks her to read them, so they know where to go next, but Severian is unable to read it. She only has faith in it. Furious, Mitch decides to go to the center of the cave and improvise. The duo advances until they reach the mutant lair, and immediately set off an explosive, while watching their teammates being dragged to the machine. The explosive blocks the entrance and kills a few mutants, allowing Mitch to escape and free Valerie and Steiner. Then Mitch investigates the pit in the center of the cave, and discovers a strange mechanism with people attached to it. It appears to turn people into mutants after a full rotation. Severian and Valerie tie themselves to a rope and descend to the heart of the machine, while Mitch and Steiner hold them from above. When the mutants begin breaking through the rock pile at the entrance, Steiner abandons Mitch to handle the rope alone, and goes to face the monsters. With a final salute, he activates a grenade and falls, killing all the mutants in the process. The weight of the rope is too much for Mitch to bear on his own, and he is dragged to the pit's edge before falling. The women also fall and land safely. However, Mitch gets caught in the mechanism, which activates to hold him down. Mitch is exposed to radiation, and a mechanical arm inserts several chips into his body. The final chip is supposed to enter his head, so Mitch keeps bending his neck to avoid it. The machine misses and breaks the bindings instead, allowing Mitch to grab his gun and destroy the mechanical arm. Mitch then joins the women and uses a knife to remove the chips. His face is still slightly mutated, but he never becomes a full-fledged monster. The group eventually reaches the heart of the machine, and while Mitch prepares the bomb, Severian and Valeria fight off monsters from both sides. Mitch doesn't understand the device and can't tell which hole the detonator goes into, so he has to use the few book pages he has. Severian takes care of a few more monsters before freezing, when she notices a mutated Samuel approaching her. However, when Samuel attacks her, she responds by forcing herself to fight him. At the other end, Valerie kills another mutant but falls, causing the spinning device to sever her body. Mitch takes over her position and fights the other monsters, while urging Severian to kill Samuel, but she can't bring herself to do so for her beloved mentor, and Samuel stabs her before pushing her away. Samuel and Mitch then begin fighting together. They trade a few blows before Mitch manages to push Samuel to the ground, and begins punching him with his team's dog tags. Samuel pushes Mitch away, and he falls next to a book page and a sword. Seeing them together makes him realize that the sacred sword is the key, so he uses it to stab Samuel while also inserting it into the machine. As the ceiling hatch opens and the structure starts to tremble, Samuel urges Mitch to take a leap of faith. Despite his initial reluctance, Mitch eventually jumps and plunges into an underground river. Upon emerging, he witnesses the machine ascending into the sky, soaring into space, and bidding farewell to Earth forever, and story concludes here. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, take care and bye now.